right. Welcome, everybody. If you can, real quick, please put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me okay. Actually, I need to turn that up. Now let's try that. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me okay. That should sound much better. Let me make sure my settings are good. Here. Perfect. All right. Good to see everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. So today, yes, we're 1 day out. Less than, let's see. We're at 5 p.m. It is a little over 12 hours. So I think they said 9 a.m. Who knows if they may start a little bit earlier, but we're looking at 12 plus 4, 16 hours approximately from the demolition, which I think most of us agree is a bad idea. I can't believe it's literally that close. And we'll talk about that. But the bigger part of the video, along with the demolition, is some certain aspects like the latent footprint that they found, but why wasn't there any other bloody footprints? And also there's so many unanswered questions, and obviously most of those we're not going to learn until the trial starts. But we can speculate and kind of go off some details that were released. But I was went back and I was looking at a Reddit post where they had pulled a bunch of hearsay statements, some that could be true. I'm sure a lot of them are speculation, but they are interesting because some were even if they were telling the truth or if they were speculating, some were right in certain details. So we'll go through those. But the two big ones is the bloody footprint and then a statement that was made by someone early on in the investigation. I'm not sure if it was Reddit or like a 4chan post. But what they said in it is very fascinating. Something I've never seen this statement before, but it would make so much sense as to why there was literally only one latent footprint and not a bloody trail going through the hallway. So we'll definitely dive into that and a little bit more. Yeah, I've been hearing about that. That supposedly. Did you hear about Kaylee's Bluetooth speaker connection to Bryan Kohberger? I have been seeing that pop up a lot lately. Would be interesting if he was close enough. That would mean obviously he'd been there before and maybe he was at the party. That would not surprise me. So, Chris Davis, good to see you. CC working. Closed captions, good to hear that. Now it's nice. YouTube has it used to be default off. So I always had to make sure every live I had to turn the closed captioning on. And sometimes when you're in a rush, you forget. And then once you kick the live on, you can't switch it once the live starts. But now they have it defaulted to on, which I'm so glad they did that. Shout out to my wonderful mods, Jennifer, Karen, D. I don't see Copper Horse, but I'm sure she'll be in here. I know Jocelyn works at night sometimes. But huge shout out to them. And mods, I am going to be getting back to you guys here over the weekend with the stuff that I made for you guys. So excited to get those sent out to you. All right, before we get started quickly, we will just do for anyone that's new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Since we've grown our channel, and I couldn't do it without you guys, we've always tried to get back by helping with cold cases, the missing, and so on. And so we always like to feature a missing person poster at the beginning. So today we have Nicole Baldwin, mother of 3, missing and endangered. She was last seen earlier this year, November 2nd, in Mount Dora, Florida. She is 41 years old, 5'5", 135 pounds, brown blonde hair, hazel eyes. It looks like she has several tattoos here. We've got, looks like a sleeve on her arm here and a couple of others. I do believe that there has been some recent search parties going on in that area. So if you want any information, you could contact this number here, 352-735-7130. and or look it up on Facebook. I know the person that's kind of running the search party has been active on Twitter and other social media if you're out that way and want to help. So, all right, let me get my thing ready here. Junior Johnson says both sides have agreed to the demolition of the house. Yeah, so yeah, as far as prosecution and defense, yeah, apparently they have no issues, which I think us as the public feel like, especially if they get the trial in summer, why not, what's 6 months gonna do, I don't think it's gonna hurt anybody. I understand that they want to move on, but there's always gonna be that what if they tear it down, and there's going to be some stuff that we're going to talk about today that will relate to, like, well, it'd be interesting to know this floor plan, and not just the floor plan, but surrounding the house as well. It's not even just the house itself, but around the house. It'd be nice to see everything, because I'm sure it's going to change quite a bit depending on how much they demolish. But as far as we know, it is set up at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m., I believe. Maybe they'll start a little earlier. Who knows? And JB Buno from Florida, he said that he would do a live show, an early live show tomorrow. If someone was out there to do like a live broadcast, they would, take the feed from whoever's out there. So it's interesting. We may do a live show. I have a doctor's appointment at 11 a.m. So I could either do it before or after. We'll have to see. So anywho, let's get on to it. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this case, but for anybody that's not, we will do just a short little recap for anybody that's unfamiliar with this case. So I'm just going to do just the basic timeline here, and then we'll get into the stuff I had set up for today's show. So let me put that there. And good to see everybody. I see everybody saying wonderful things. Like I said, if you're just coming in, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas if you do celebrate that. And so here we go. So here are sadly our 4 victims. Just over a year now. 4 students: Ethan Chapman, Zanna Knodel, Maddie Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez. 4 students going to the University of Idaho. And sadly, on November 13th of 2022, their lives would be tragically, horribly taken. And we'll just play just a short little timeline, and then we'll get into the stuff that I got prepared for today, which involves the latent bloody footprint and a few other things. And yeah, kind of excited to discuss it with you guys, because so many unanswered questions. So let me just skip it through here. Is this the right one? No, that's the wrong video. I'm sorry. Here we go.
2022, at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone was utilizing cell resources that provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road of Pullman, Washington.
8-minute mark. That's 6 minutes. Okay, we're just going to start it right here.
This is with the exception of Zanna, who received a DoorDash order at the...
So just for anybody that doesn't know this case, the 4 students, they were kind of in pairs. Maddie and Kaylee, they were at a bar for a little bit, and then they went to a grub truck to get some food after the bar, and then they were picked up by a private driver. That driver took them home, and they got home at approximately 1:56 a.m., just a little bit before 2. And then as far as Ethan and Zanna, as far as exactly when they got home, I don't think we know for sure, but we all know that they were home around 2, and so they're all back at the house around 2 a.m.
This is with the exception of Zanna, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Dylan stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. Dylan stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she said sounded like Kaylee playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, Dylan said she heard who she thought was Kaylee saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of the records obtained from forensic download of Zanna's phone showed this could also have been Zanna, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. Dylan stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Dylan stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Zanna's room. Dylan then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17, a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest.
And this is a great photo actually here because, the camera's sitting right here and we're looking at I have to think about it because it's up, it's kind of backwards. So north, east, west. So this would be the west wall, approximately right here. The camera's here, and you have Zanna's bedroom, which is kind of like in this area right here. Make sure you guys can see it. So it would make sense that it would really kind of pick up some of the sounds that are coming from Zanna because that is the closest wall to where that camera is, which is approximately, I think they say 50 feet or less from where the camera is. This light bulb camera, which we've gone over very thoroughly in this case.
Of 1122 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices of a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times, starting at 4:17 a.m. Dylan stated she opened her door for a third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows.
So I just want to pause this. Laura Smith, Clay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and I enjoyed this channel. Chris and Steve bring things to life. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Laura. And yes, there is a test that Steve did. If I get a chance, maybe while we're kind of discussing things, if I can, I just forgot to grab it before the show. But Steve actually did, because a big part of the show is we're going to talk about why isn't there no bloody foot trail, yet we have this one latent footprint. So you'd think if there was one latent footprint, there should be others, unless he did something. And there was something quoted early on in the investigation. Obviously there was a lot of talk. Most of it's hearsay rumors, but I'm sure like 5-10% of it, I'm sure there's some stuff that was true. And there was a statement made by one of these, random Reddit, Facebook posts, whatever, that I had never seen. And when I saw this, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it comes from a person that did have seemed like they had some inside sources. And so we'll look at that. But man, it really opened up my eyes and said, wow, this could be the reason why there's no bloody trail except for the one that he left just right over here. Because technically, if he's walking away, I could understand not really having a bloody foot trail from, sadly when he took Maddie and Mogan's life, because they're in bed, and so most of the blood would have been contained, and maybe if he did get it on it, it would be on his, his sleeves and shirt. But whereas this case with Zanna, where it seems like he's attacking her, at least she's one of the victims that's not laying in the bed. So more likely him to step in blood. And clearly he must have stepped in blood because he left a latent footprint behind. So anyway, we'll get to that here in a bit. Don't want to jump ahead. We'll keep playing this, but I think that's definitely one of my biggest unanswered questions. But we'll definitely get into that.
The male walked past Dylan as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the backsliding.
And this is where the latent footprint is supposed to be at, supposedly, is right here. So there's kind of like a little drop off here. There's, one step down here. And it seems this is where the latent footprint is at, because we've even seen pictures of them focused on this area here where they have buccal swabs and stuff.
Mel walked towards the backsliding glass door. Dylan locked herself in her room after seeing the male. Dylan did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. King Road. Suspect Vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of King Road residence at approximately 4:20 at a high rate of speed. Suspect Vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. I believe that Suspect Vehicle 1 likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Constanoga Drive. The phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time ADs utilize cell resources that provide coverage to ID State Highway 95 south of Moscow, Idaho, near Blaine, Idaho. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cell resources.
Okay, so that's just the basic timeline. Obviously, we've gone into very in-depth details with the timeline, PC affidavit. If you're newer into this case and you'd like to check those out, we've got tons of videos breaking all that kind of stuff down. But we'll just that's just kind of the basic timeline, and then we'll kind of go through some just highlights. Obviously, there's so many, and I wouldn't be able to go through them all in a short live like this, but we'll go through a little bit of them. But then we're going to go into the statements that I discovered, and like I said, the main focus is going to be on the bloody footprint, and also where was Zanna and Ethan exactly, because there is some kind of conflicting statements, and I thought it'd be interesting. And like I said, all this will still kind of play into why I think I'm sure, and like most agree, it's a bad idea to demolish this, especially if they do agree to have a trial in the summer. I mean, that's just right around the corner. Oops, let me go back here. Olivia too. Thank you, Chris, for all your hard work. Happy New Year. Thank you so much, Olivia, for the $10. You are so sweet. Happy New Year to you and everybody else. I can't believe it's just around the corner. There was a comment. I'm sorry, Sergeant. I don't know if I can come back to your comment. Oh, there it was. Also consider the latent footprint is not part of the crime. It's possible. It would be interesting to know if now, not to ask Steve this, but I'm assuming if there was blood in it, then I would assume yes, this had to come from the crime. But I get what you're saying. Could it be, one of because of the diamond pattern that they found? Obviously, it seems like there's a lot of them had wore Vans at one point, and it could have been one of them that stepped in something, or was it there prior? It's certainly plausible. So, I mean, you definitely make a great point for sure. So just the little things that went on just after we learned of this horrendous crime. We got the grub truck footage, which people are still dissecting to this day. Now it's kind of turned into a Fight Club thing, which to me, it's I'm not interested in that side of that. But the hoodie guy was real big in the early days. Another one that was a big red flag, at least in the beginning when we didn't have many details, was the phone calls between the two girls and Jack just before the homicide. They had made up to like 10 phone calls to the ex-boyfriend or off and on boyfriend. Um, it was weird. It was did raise some red flags. Seems they tried to call him, wanted to speak to him about something, but he never answered. I think his story is he went to bed early, but at the time it was a little odd, and I know a lot of people were looking into that. And then of course a lot of people are looking at Jack, and then we have a couple of Jacks, and we have the hoodie guy, Showalter. And then the other big thing, a lot of people made a big, not a big deal, but a lot of people had an issue with was the white Hyundai Elantra. So they released this December 7th. So that's not quite a month. Is it originally December 7th? Yeah, it does. It says December 7th. Man, it seems like it was earlier than that. But at the time, they said 2011 to 2013. And if you look at the photos, they're both kind of stock photos, which, it's very common. They use that unless they have like an actual security footage that they can, screenshot and put up on. But one of the things you notice is one of them has a sunroof. I know it's not the best quality right there, but this one on the right has a sunroof. But this one here does not. So I think they were trying to just show, and if you notice, you're looking at the left side of the car and the right side. You got the drivers and the passengers. So I think they were just trying to get a general idea out to the public. Like, this is kind of what we have. Now, obviously, the car that they would learn that, uh, it was something between 2011 and 2016 because of that generation. I forget which generation, fifth, sixth generation. So it was a much bigger window. But at the time, people still kind of harp on or talk about the sunroof and did that have a some kind of meaning to it. But anyway, moving on, and I'll get to the chat here in just a second. So they did learn. So this is what's kind of crazy is that they released this on December 7th, right? But they actually learned of a person of interest on November 29th. So almost a week before, where they asked the public's help. They had actually started getting an idea of what the actual car, make, model, year was. Then moving forward, just before Christmas and the holidays, Bryan Kohberger and his father flew out from Pennsylvania, and that way they could just double team and drive, because I forget how many hours, but I'm sure it's like 30 hours plus or something like that to drive from Washington all the way back to Pennsylvania. I know it's well over a day. And then, of course, they would get pulled over twice. This was on purpose, of course. And then finally, just before the end of the year, gosh, that's crazy. If we think about it, 3 days from now, it will be a year from when he was officially arrested. That's kind of wild to think about. Seems like it's been much longer, but yeah, so almost a year ago is when they had his first arrest. There's many other things like his sister, his article that came out. They supposedly had an inside source. And I'm not going to go through too much into this. We've done it in previous lives, but apparently his sister was suspicious of him. Noticed that his behavior was odd. And not only her, but she's according to the article, other family members were kind of wondering if he was involved as well. One of the things she stated is that let's see, where is it exactly? By the point, Mr. Kohberger had already been spotted by. Oh, it was actually not by her, but it was actually supposedly they were obviously watching him because they knew who he was. This would be just before the arrest, but according to surveillance team, They saw him cleaning out his car with bleach, and we kind of did a live about that, wondering if that would actually, uh, on certain material, would that actually leave spots and ruin, parts of your car. But um, then we learned people started coming forward, of course, about Bryan Kohberger that knew him. We got a lot of stories about how he lost weight. He was, was kind of overweight early on, and then he got into H, and then from there he lost weight, and then they said when he came back he was kind of like a bully himself. Then of course a big bombshell was the DNA profile. They got that from the garbage. Obviously the sheath was left behind at the crime scene, and they had found a profile, but they didn't know whose profile. They had to send that to a third party because I guess their technology was not up to date, and so they sent that to a third party, and they did kind of the same thing that they did with the Golden State offender, James D'Angelo. I was trying to think of his name, and they basically from the father throwing out his trash, they were able to get the father's DNA and then kind of work the family tree, and then finally figured out that this DNA belonged to Bryan Kohberger. There was also 3 other unidentified profiles. Honestly, that doesn't surprise me considering it's a party house. I mean, so I know some people make a big deal out of that. To me, I think considering people are coming and going, I'm sure there would probably be a lot of unidentified profiles there. All right, so now we're gonna get to the stuff that we have planned for today. So I just kind of wanted to go over some of the highlights. Like I said, there's so much more. But let me take a sip here and let me get caught up in chat, and then so for those that may not know, obviously they had did a search warrant at his home, took things from his home, took stuff from his parents' home. But one of the things that they took from his home was a Walmart receipt with the Dickies tag. Now we didn't know much about that at the time, other than just what they had labeled. But since then, we learned what this receipt was, and this receipt from Walmart is actually for, and this was not long before the homicide. So I don't know if it was like a month prior or what, but they say not long before the tragedy. He went to Walmart in Pullman and bought these Dickies dark coveralls, and they have the receipt for 44. I think it's either $44.99 because that's what I saw in here, or at the time it was $49.99. Either way, they have that receipt, but that's what he got. So if anyone was wondering what that receipt and Dickies tag, this is what he bought. And I think this is huge and will play a huge role into why, like, he was able to not get, like, blood and stuff in his car. This would be, especially if you had clothing underneath, you do the crime, and then before you get to your car, you just take that off and put that in a bag, and, a lot of the evidence you've got, and you wouldn't be making a mess. Tom, good to see you. Happy holidays, buddy. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a great Christmas. Thanks for all your hard work, Chris. Awesome channel and content. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much, Tom. Great support of this channel. Thank you so much. Similar to Vans, but not B Vans. Yes, so you're talking about the shoe pattern, and that is a big topic we're going to talk about today. So we are definitely going to talk about that for sure. Candy says so many unanswered questions. Right. Micro Kimmy, good to see you. There's a bloody outline on one larger body on mattress being hauled off, which tells me Ethan was on the bed alone. I also, ooh, interesting, which I would agree with. I also believe latent print is caused by friction, maybe him turning corner on exit. Ooh, interesting. And thank you so much, Micro Kimmy. Definitely, I could see that. I do remember seeing the picture of the mattresses. I never really did a video or anything on them. But yeah, I did see those. It was disturbing to see, sadly. Sensei Wakadoodle, good to see you. Yeah, we got almost 700 in chat now. Get that thumbs up for Chris. Thank you so much, Sensei. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Mike says Chris, but I think it's buried. He had a shovel. I'd agree. I think it's quite possible he could have definitely done that for sure. Okay. Everybody can hear me okay, right? Yeah, I know sometimes the video, if I play a video, it might be louder than me, so I apologize. I don't think we're gonna be playing any more videos, so as long as you guys can hear me okay, I think we are good. Um, yep. Okay, and there's the other one. I think there is other DNA, but they mention. I think there is other DNA, but they mention the sheet DNA as it can't be explained away. It directly connects his DNA to the knife used. Yeah, and we just talked about that. There is unidentified profiles that we know, and maybe they'll. Who knows? Maybe they'll figure that out. I'm sure because that will be raised by the defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if the prosecution tries to, one of them gets to the answer. All right, moving on. So the other thing that was that we learned is the sheep that was left on the bed. So this K bar. This was released in I think the Dateline episode, but since then it's been talked about. But apparently, they claim they found a receipt for the online Amazon purchase for this United States Marine K-bar knife. So, and this was bought a few months before the homicide. The question I would have is I wonder if they, because obviously I'm assuming this is not like the real thing. Like I'm sure it's very close, like a replica. I have no idea. Maybe it is made out of the same material as the United States Marine Corps. If anyone knows, let me know in chat. But I'd be curious to know if they could like check the like the contents, like what it's made out of, and if that does reflect something that does come from Amazon. Would that also kind of, further support that this was Kohberger? But something interesting to note. So now we're going to get on to the main part of the show, which is so I got a few things first we'll read. So there was a Reddit post where they took like a bunch of kind of interesting comments that either came from Reddit, 4chan, whatever. And there's a few of them that really I found very interesting because I know there's a lot of them. And I'm sure 90% of it is BS. I'm sure probably like 80% of it's BS or like 70% BS and then like 10% speculation. And then I'm sure there's a little bit in here that is true. So I'm going to read one of them, but there's a couple of others as well. Oh, Alan says made by the same company, made by 1095 Krone Van Steel. Is that the K-bar knife we're talking about, Alan? Interesting. If that is what you're talking about. Yeah, because I was kind of wondering, would it be like kind of like a replica, so they're not making it out of the exact same material? I've never had one, so I have no idea. All right. So here's the first one. I just answered this. I've been lurking here for a while, and this is why I've been hesitant to say anything. Now, of course, take this with a huge grain of salt. Yes, the police did say that the roommates summoned friends because they thought someone was unconscious. From what my friend told me, secondhand info alert. So they're saying, keep in mind this is secondhand info. They were concerned Zanna had hit her head, but they weren't sure, so they tried to find Ethan. So obviously this is talking about just before the 911 call. Apparently either Dylan and or Bethany called some friends across the street. I think either at Sigma or whatever. They came over, and then they went to go check the house. And so this is supposedly like what they discovered, or their accounts of what they um, when they couldn't they summoned his friend looking for Ethan. I don't know how the rest played out exactly, but for what's been reported, it appears this friend went over to the house, and I'm assuming here found the bodies. I may take some liberties here, but to me, that would imply they couldn't see Zanna. Now, this is important because there's two things that I want to, like today's show is going to be focused on, is the bloody footprints and why there's no trail. And then where was Zanna exactly, and was the door shut or not? And that's kind of like something that I'm kind of curious to get your guys' ideas. So we'll kind of read it and then read chat. But it goes on to say, I may be taking some liberties here, but to me, that would imply they couldn't see Zanna. If they could, I would imagine they would realize that her wounds were far more significant than just hitting her head. Which I do remember way back in the day that there was like many mentions of, the unconscious person, they hit their head. Like that was rumored many, many times over. What they heard the night before was crying, a thud, and someone saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Now, obviously, this was posted after the PCA affidavit, so keep in mind this for them saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." That information obviously was already out there, so keep that in mind. This is the big one. This is the one I found, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, could this be the answer of why there was no blood trail?" So it starts out, DM was not cleaning the house. According to friends who were there after the police arrived, this is secondhand info, not fact. BF heard the thud and texted DM, which we have heard, we don't know for sure, that the girls at some point after or and during that they were texting each other. That has definitely been rumored many, many times. Obviously, we'll find out, when the trial comes. Excuse me. DM went to check on Zanna. That's when she saw the man in black. She went back to her room. When she was sure she didn't hear anyone else, she went to Zanna's room. The bathroom door, so the bathroom is before Zanna's bedroom, so it's right here. So here's a shot. This would be kind of her walking if this happened. We don't know. But I think this is very important. Whether true or not, I think this is very interesting. So the bathroom is right here. And then Zanna's bedroom here. So she went back to her room. Let's see. Okay, yeah, she went back to her room. That's Dylan. And when she was sure she didn't hear anyone else, she went to Zanna's room. The bathroom door was open, and the light was on. They believe he took a towel from the bathroom and wiped his shoes and the knife and wrapped the knife in the towel. Now, that could be completely made up, speculation, whatever, but that is very interesting. And that, even if this was like just speculation or made up, whatever. Um, that could be what he had actually done. Now, obviously, if there's a towel missing, then that would further support the speculation theory, whatever. But that would explain why there would be like no trail from the bathroom to, and then maybe if he did wipe the bottom of his shoes, maybe there was still some blood in the crevice, and maybe it wasn't until like gravity kind of took a hold of that, and then it wasn't until he got down to in front of Dylan's bedroom where he took one step and there was like a little bit of blood in between like um, the sole of the shoe, and so he did end up leaving like that one latent footprint. But that would explain like why there was no others. I wish I could have Steve here. I'm sure he could probably kind of explain that better. But I guess the best thing to do would actually test that, because Steve has done a test where he stepped in a pool of blood. It was fake blood, but it's the same thing. And like I said, I wish I just didn't have a chance. But he stepped in a pool of blood, and then he tested. He walked down a hallway, and he just kept walking until the blood dissipated. And I can't remember how long he went on, but he could have walked the whole house and left a whole trail. So it is interesting that there is no blood trail except for that one latent footprint. Um, so, um, so this is what I think. If this is possible, and this is just speculation, of course. And then I just saw somebody, and I want to answer this because that's the first thing I thought. No, I can't find it. Dang it. I saw somebody say, nah, because you would think there'd be other blood. Dang it, I can't find it. I just saw, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. No, there would be blood from Zanna's room to the bathroom. So it could be possible he walks to the bathroom because obviously it's right there. It's right there. So he's just going from, like 2 feet. So yeah, he would leave this little trail. So let's say he wipes his feet, and then obviously he's going to look down and see this, and then he just wipes, this little bit here, and then he's on his merry way and goes out. It's certainly plausible. Obviously, completely speculation, but it would be interesting. Now I know no towel is mentioned, like a towel missing is not mentioned in the affidavit, but remember they put the minimal amount in the affidavit. They always put just enough to get their search warrant, whatever, for the arrest. But yes, if a towel was missing, or towels, it would be very interesting. So a couple more of these, and then we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into the footprints, and get more of your guys' comments. Are those wood floors? I think they are. I don't think they're laminate flooring. I think those are hardwood floors. Which I actually did do some refurbishing with hardwood floors back in the day for a little bit. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. There are authentic K-bar knives on eBay. Interesting. So there could be other ones out there that could be made differently out of different material. So that's what I wonder, and that would be huge, I think. All right, so a few more, and then we'll look a little bit closer at this footprints, and then Zanna, because this falls into Zanna as well. Letting you all know, because I've been following this for a week. I've been brainstorming with a friend of Zanna, and as of now, we believe that the killer was a man wearing all black and a mask. My sources come from Dylan, who she herself said she saw him quickly outside her basement window and didn't see her. So this is where the credibility issue kind of comes into play, because obviously, if you guys remember in the beginning, it was believed the surviving roommates were on the bottom. It wasn't until the PC affidavit that we learned that Bethany was on the bottom floor. Dylan was actually in the second floor. But it is interesting what else they mentioned, though. She ran to Beth's room because they were scared, but I don't think she knew the severity. Multiple friends had also said that Kaylee had been stalked 5 weeks ago at Winco's, and that there may be footage there. Also, Kaylee again got stalked while walking her dog Murphy. And then to top it all off, weeks ago, the sliding glass door at the house was found open. The killer seems to have treated this as a hunt. Everything I've found and forwarded to the tip line. If there's anything and all information that you want the authorities to know, I've been piecing a timeline together. Anyway, with the sliding glass door, that wouldn't surprise me if it was a party house. I'm sure, clearly people coming and going, that there would be nights where that door would be open. As a matter of fact, I think that's even happened to me, and we didn't really even have a party house. We just, at times, had, during the younger days when we had our first apartment. I think that's happened to us. So one more that is very interesting. This goes on along the lines with where was Zanna, because there's kind of conflicting statements. And it's not as much as where was Zanna exactly, but was the door open or shut? And what could they actually see? So here's this one as well. I have it on good authority. Cousin is a cop in a nearby town, but called in. Oh, let me move this over so you can see it better. I'm sorry. Oops. There we go. I have it on good authority. Cousin is a cop in a nearby town, but called in to help in a Moscow once school started back up. Apparently, the investigation is looking directly at Sigma Chi frat party, because remember there was a fight, and that was kind of what they were looking into. I'm gonna skip this part. Downstairs, survivors could hear two males rummaging through the room above them. Figured it was an after party, locked the doors, and went to bed. When they discovered them in the morning, about 30 minutes before the 911 call, they called their friends at Sigma to come over, who in turn called the police. It's right across the street, and for whatever reason, they believed it was people from Sigma upstairs around 2:15 that night. This statement is what's very interesting. Back door was left open. One dead in the bed, the other one blocking the room's door with their body. Very interesting comment. Police just updated their Facebook to reiterate they are not looking into the activities that night, only the homicides. Which to me suggests something went on. Fight. I can't say the rest of that. But anyway. But that statement right there is very interesting and very detailed. Back door was left open. One dead in the bed. The other one blocking the room's door. Which does line up. I'm not sure if we can completely corroborate that the sliding door was open, but everything else, Ethan being in bed, and then the other one on the ground. But they said that the other one, which would be Zanna, was blocking the room's door with the body, which I find interesting. And because there's kind of conflicting statements. And one last one here, and then we're gonna dive deeper into these two here. So there's just one more, and it's just really the top statement here. Matches what I was told as it relates to how they saw Zanna, and this is just kind of talking about the friends finding them. Saw Zanna, no blood, ran downstairs and called the police right away. So just kind of looking at all that stuff, just kind of makes me wonder, was the door shut? Where was Zanna exactly? And so the two things, like I said, I was going to talk about the blood trail a little bit further, and then where Zanna's body was at. Well, the black box in his car had location data. So his car did not have the upgraded system. His car does, that particular model does have the option to have the infotainment center, the stuff from the Murdoch, kind of the same stuff. His car does have that package, like can get that package, but you'd have to upgrade. When he got pulled over, um, we were able to see inside his car, and you can see obviously the dash and everything, and you can tell that it's obviously just the base model that he had gotten and not the upgrade. But there's always something more that they always get that surprises me. So could there be something else, some kind of Bluetooth, whatever? Who knows? But as far as those type of things, I'm not sure. Especially as far as like the Murdoch, I don't know if they're going to be able to get the same kind of stuff. But thank you so much, Tom. So let's see. Mary says, I think the door was closed. I believe someone was alive and trying to get out the door for help and passed out blocking the door. Interesting. I kind of agree with that. And like I said, we'll talk about her in just a second, but let's dive a little bit deeper into this footprint and what we know about it. So here is how it's worded. During the process of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. So latent is like a faint, the definition of latent is a very faint shoe print. So it could be blood, like blood that's left over. I would think that's the only thing that would leave a latent shoe print, unless it was kind of like oily on the ground or something. There's something else that he had on his shoe that was able to leave the latent shoe print. But if there was blood in it, then obviously we'll find out. But anyway, so they used a blood test and then an amino black test. So assuming that they did do a blood test, would suggest that this latent footprint did have some kind of blood on it. Along with that is the detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern, similar to a pattern that Vans shoes, which I love Vans shoes, because I grew up skateboarding, had tons of pairs of them, very comfortable. But yeah, they're very well known for their diamond pattern. But there is other shoes that have diamond patterns as well. Not like Vans, but there are others. And there's one in specific that does. But the question again is, how in the hell, if this was a latent bloody footprint, how was there none left, from the trail? And if that rumor or statement that we read a little bit earlier about, this one here, that the bathroom door was open and the light was on, they believe he took a towel from the bathroom, wiped his shoes and the knife, and wrapped the knife in the towel, and then maybe wiped, from where he just came from. And I think that'd be totally possible. But if you wiped, it's totally possible that, let's say he wiped his shoe, so there's blood on the shoe, and you wipe it, but you've got all these little crevices. And could it be that even though he wiped it, there was still blood in these crevices, and so maybe not in the beginning he didn't leave a trail, but when he took, the step out here, maybe, gravity or whatever took into effect, and you would end up leaving, a latent footprint. And on top of that, and of course I got the wrong thing right there, but they did take men Nike shoes from was it his apartment, or I think it was from the Pennsylvania home, wasn't it? One of the two. I can't remember which one, but either way, they took men Nikes, men size 13 Nike shoes, and it just so happens that there are a few Nikes that do have a diamond pattern sole, and here's two of them right here. So here's one here, and here's another one here. I forget exactly which shoe it is. I'm sure somebody in the comments could tell me. And then on the right, you have the pattern here. So, and we know the girls as well were seen wearing either Vans or Chucks. So I know a lot of people wonder, well, what could it just been from one of the victims? But there's a lot that they can do depending on how much of a print they got from this latent print. And when people wear shoes, they obviously start to wear down the sole. And like I said, it all kind of depends on so many variables. But if the shoe had been worn and had been worn in certain areas, so even say, let's say there's multiple people with the same shoe, their tread and wear is going to be different. And so if that's the case, they could definitely have more details, and it would be they could get a much better match compared to the latent to the suspect's shoe. So kind of interesting when it comes to that. But I guess the big question would be if towels were missing from the bathroom, that would indicate the suspect used and took them. But obviously, even though that's not in the affidavit, we won't know until, the trial. But the other thing is the suit that he was wearing. This is another huge one. And this would explain a lot as to how he didn't get, because you would think he would be obviously clever. I think one of the biggest unanswered questions is how one person could do this and not leave a big trail and mess behind them, from going into the house and getting out, and not leaving some crazy blood trail, blood all over the car. I mean, look at OJ. I mean, he left blood on the outside of his Bronco, whatever. So to me, with these Dickies overall suit, and then just having, probably some basic clothing underneath, that after he obviously is done with the homicide, he would be covered in certain areas with blood, and then exit the home, and then all he's got to do is just unzip the overalls, and then obviously he's got some kind of clothing underneath, and then I'm sure he would be prepared, and then put that into a paper bag, whatever, and everything, like the towel if he had the towel as well, and put that all into the bag well before he even enters the car, and then that way he wouldn't be leaving all these crazy little tidbits of blood. Like I said, I go back to the OJ case. He left all these little clues for sure. Microkimi says, Chris, latent print can also be caused by friction. Interesting. Yeah, I did mention being why they use a different solution to find it. Right. That's why I believe it was his foot cutting a quarter causing said friction. Possibly wore booties. Yeah, I've heard that one as well. And that wouldn't surprise me at all either. Yeah, I wish I had Steve. Steve would be able to definitely answer that. I think it's interesting that they did the blood test, so I don't know if that, solidifies that there was some kind of blood in that latent shoe print, or they just did that because, it's just part of protocol. But yes, you could be right, and maybe there was no blood trail to begin with. It's definitely plausible. I don't know where you got size 9 from. We don't know the size. That's never been released that I know of. Um, yeah, I don't think that's right. And if it's a latent footprint, we might not even know. It might not even be the whole shoe. If it's latent, it might be just part of the shoe. I mean, I'm sure they could still determine the size of the shoe. It all just kind of depends um, on the variables of the footprint itself. Sorry, I'm missing some here. Oh, here we go. I believe this footprint is mentioned because it validates Dylan's eyewitness account. No way, it's the only print. And it's quite possible some of this stuff. So this is the interesting thing. If you actually, let me go back to this footprint, and then we'll move on to Zanna. Uh, okay. During the process of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene. So they didn't find this, obviously, during the first pass. So this was found during the second processing of the crime scene. But yeah. So moving on. So this is another thing, and this just all kind of falls into why they need to keep this house up. Like a lot of these little unanswered questions that I'm sure the trial will give us the answers, but until then, I think the jury would be very beneficial, not just to see the inside of the house, but the surrounding area, because be curious to know his exit plan. Because I think the most sense is that he would have parked up here, and so it would be interesting for the jurors not just to see the house, but his entrance and his exit plan, and also what could you see from being up here. I know we've seen screenshots, and we kind of know what you can see. We can see the bedrooms and stuff. Now usually they had the blinds down, but who knows, maybe the blinds were different. But clearly, I think that would be something the jurors would like to see, being up in here and looking down at the vantage and kind of being able to put himself in those shoes. So, one more thing. So now moving on to Zanna and where was she positioned? Because one of the things, um, it's mentioned in two different ways. The way that they found Ethan and Zanna. Well, mainly Ethan, or I mean Zanna. So let me read this one more time. Let me take a sip here. So, where is it here? Oh, right here. So this one says, like I said again, back door was left open, one dead in the bed, the other one was blocking the room's door with their body. So, in the original PC affidavit, this is how they worded finding Zanna. So, Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor on the north side of the building. Smith and I walked upstairs to the second floor. Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which is Zanna's bedroom. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body. As I approached the room, I could see a body. So that would indicate that the door, at the very least, was open. But what's interesting, and I'm sorry I could not grab the thing before, because I used to be signed up with the Howard Bloom site, but now they want you to pay monthly. Anyway, before it used to be, as long as you were signed in with the email, you could look at the articles. But anyway, in his article, which is very interesting, says that the detective opened the door, and I forget how exactly it's worded, but anyway, it says they go up the stairs and that he has to open the door. And then he finds, one on the ground and one in the bed. So I wonder if it's a combination of the two, where as we can see how the door opens up, it opens up into the bedroom. So could it be that Zanna was laying like somewhere in this area here, where the door is kind of like halfway open, maybe like 3/4 closed, and maybe you could kind of like see her head, but you couldn't really see like like the blood and everything. You could only really kind of see like her top half, maybe, or just her head, and maybe that's why they say, there's a lot of statements where they say that there's mentions of Zanna hitting her head and the unconscious person, and of course we know the unconscious. The whole reason they labeled it unconscious call is because that's just how they labeled those calls. But it's interesting that there were so many statements in the beginning that kind of line up with what the students recounted when they went into, you know, search, just before 911 was called, when the surviving roommates came out, they called their friends, and they went to go check on the surviving roommates. So let me know what you guys think, because I think it's a combination of the two, and that maybe Zanna was laying and the door was kind of halfway open. So let me get to chat here because there's so much. Empty nest garden. They got to have more prints the general public doesn't know about yet. Ooh, that's possible. Certainly plausible. I don't see BK having enough time to clean up or change clothes. Now if he had the overalls, he weren't really, all he's doing is just taking off a layer, flipping it inside out, put it in a bag, and you're done. And then you've already got your clothes underneath. You would obviously be doing that as you're walking to the car. Um, I would speculate that would be the case. Yeah, there's no mention of shoe size. Yeah, as far as that latent print, that's all we know is it's a latent print. Did the neighbors across the street have cameras? So I can show where the cameras are at um, here in a little bit. How is there only one footprint from it? It's a good distance from the bodies. So yeah. Oh, I forget her name. The one that mentioned it earlier. But yeah, as mentioned, Michael Kimmy mentioned earlier. Yeah, it's definitely possible that it could have came from him turning and making some kind of mark on the ground. I could see that happening for sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the digital evidence, and also I'm going to show you guys something else as well. There's actually one other thing. Exactly, a jury should be allowed to sit in that post and watch that window like he did many nights. Yeah, I think not only just the inside of the house, but just around the house is just going to be as important to be able to put yourself in those shoes to understand. Because obviously, there's people in here that think Kohberger's not responsible, or they believe others, or if not, there's more than one person responsible. And so maybe there's something there that may change their minds, once they actually see the floor plan, and not just the floor plan, but the surrounding area. Uh, yeah, why mention where the bathroom is? Yes. There was a couple of things that was mentioned. I was like, ooh, Prosser gang just sent you a pick of footprint out back, crime scene marker 3. Did you send it to? Let's take a look at it. And I've got here, while I look that up, I'll play something. I think not a lot of people have seen this. I know a lot have, but not everybody. So as you guys know, there's Linda Lane footage. But there's also Linda Lane footage from the dumpster camera. So I'm just going ahead and play this real quick. And then I'll explain everything in this. Bear with me, guys, just a minute. I get pulled. Sorry. Get out of here. Did you email that to me? Let's see. Is it my other? Is that my junk email? I don't see that one. Which is a bummer. Processor Gang, do you know where you sent that? Just sent you a pic of. Did you send it to my email? First time I've seen that footage. Yeah. So this footage is from that day. This is taken from the dumpster. They call it the dumpster camera. And I'll show you guys because this is a dumpster right here. Now, this was uploaded around the time all the Linda Lane footage was leaked. And it seems like they have more of this footage. And let me show you where this is located. Yeah, I tried to look. I'm sorry, Processor Gang, if you sent that. If you sent it via email, if you can, I will check one more time. I looked. I didn't see it. So there are cameras set up. The ones that we know for sure, obviously, is this one here, which we'll look at screenshot. Then we got the Linda Lane, which I think many have seen this one. But the one we're looking at is this other Linda Lane, which is down this road. This is how they could tell early on when they said, the suspect was driving down Taylor Avenue. You would be able to see a vehicle, obviously going west. And so, yeah, the cameras. So here's that little garbage can right here. Make sure you guys can see it. And it's pointed this way here. But yeah, so there's clearly other footage that people have, but it's weird that they haven't. I don't know. Maybe they got in trouble when they leaked the other Linda Lane footage. But they uploaded just 2 different timestamps, and sorry, I'm trying to look for it again. There it is. So this one's taken at 12:43. It's taken on that night, but it's way early. I think they wanted to show that there's this car that's got a sunroof. It's interesting that it does a 3-point turn. But to me, I think that, in my honest opinion, this car's irrelevant. It's 12:44. It's hours before anything would ever happen. But what's interesting is it would give us an idea of kind of what we would see on the other camera, because we would kind of have that similar angle. But anyway, and then they upload another one at 3:14 with some guy just kind of walking up. To me, I think this guy has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's just some random guy walking to the trash can, dumping something off. I mean, this is going to be about 40 minutes before the crime happens, so I don't know, somebody hitting a cigarette or a vape, throwing something away. But I'm curious as to why, if they have these two different time frames from noon, or not noon, but midnight and 3:14, tells me that they have more of this footage, just like the Linda Lane that they have from like 1 to 5 p.m. or whatever. But I'm just curious as to why this particular footage didn't get released. Because obviously we could do a lot with seeing the vehicles go down the road. Um, Give us an idea of after seeing Kohberger. Anyway, there'd be so many things I'd love to do. Oh, to my Twitter. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember seeing these footage. Interesting. You guys remember one of those footage we saw, like the early days where there was like a guy standing in the back of the house where I was showing earlier, and it was like he was trying to get in the shoes of the suspect. And let's see, where did those go? Oh, there's the other two. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that definitely looks to me like what appears to be a footprint. Obviously, it's a lot hard to make out. I wonder though, with having this here, always when you're going to measure something or you find something, especially that can be measured, you always want to have something that you can um, use to like. So if you found like a bone, like a little finger bone, you would have like a dollar bill and put it next to it. That way you have something that you know the exact measurements of. So that way you could use that to kind of get an idea of how big this shoe print is. So if we knew the dimensions of this number three label, we could kind of get an idea of how big that shoe print is. Which, I mean, it's tough to tell because the quality's not the best, but maybe you could clear it up. But I think you could definitely kind of get maybe a rough idea of how big that shoe print is. But I'm assuming that's what that is. And if you're wondering where that is in the backyard where it's believed the suspect could have exited. So that they're kind of somewhere. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure this is back here somewhere, right? That wasn't in the front yard, right? Yeah, with the tree coming down and everything. Yeah. Yeah, so that's somewhere kind of in this area here. Anyway, wow, we have 1,000 people in here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So, just recap a few things. I wish I could have done more today's video. I had some health issues. I have to go see the doctor tomorrow. Nothing major, just had some issues with my foot swelling up, and um, so I'm gonna have that looked at tomorrow. But anyway, so tomorrow, and this was posted as well. I was gonna read this too. I forgot. This was sent out by the Gonsalves Granodal family. So obviously, Gonsalves and the Granodal family, very outspoken. I think the Chapmans are kind of, I don't know if they're against it or they're just being quiet on that end. Um, and then I'm pretty sure the Mogan family is probably feels the same with the majority. But anyway, it says, please stop the demolition of King Road Home. The Gonsalves family reached out to the Latah County Prosecutor's Office and the University of Idaho to stop this madness. When the victims can't speak, you have to speak for them. Let's just answer the question on why the King Roadhouse should stand for basic evidentiary purposes. What were the vantage points of the roommates, Dylan and Bethany? What could they hear from where they were in the house? What could they see? How far away was Dylan when she saw BK? Why didn't he see her? Could the surviving roommates hear a dog barking from the third floor? Screams? Can you hear those same sounds from the bottom apartment? Outside the house, if evidence is presented about BK leaving or watching the house, what windows could he see in from? So just exactly what we were talking about. Like, it's not even just the inside of the house, just the surrounding. Um, to get the full picture is just as important. And totally agree. Um, if there is audio evidence, what can you hear standing outside the house? What can you hear inside the house? Supposedly, they say that's kind of like paper wall thin house, from what we've heard. All the entry and exit points in the home. How could you get in and out without anyone seeing you? Were the deck's potential access points? Any biological evidence? So obviously, all great, great concerns, questions that he's raising. Please get a trial date scheduled. It is a disappointment, and it is with disappointment and frustration that we have to ask for this publicly. The court in this matter has delayed long enough. The hearing for the challenges to the indictment were in October. It is also now our understanding that the defense has filed a motion for the court to reconsider the court's decision on the indictment challenges. Anyway, that first part speaks for itself. But anyway, JB Buno. Let's see if I can find it. It's here. Said that he will do a live if someone's there to broadcast. See if I can find it here. Was there right at the top? Of course, I can't find it, but JBP. And I think I spelled that wrong. Anyway, so yeah, he said he'll go live if there are somebody there live streaming it. Now, of course, you can't park your cars near there because they have a sign up. So, and it's supposed to be like from 9 to 5, and it's going to be taking place for a few days. So we may do a live show tomorrow. If there is somebody there live streaming it, it'd be kind of interesting to see what goes on. So, yeah, it's sad that the parents of the victims don't get to take a vote to decide whether the house should be demolished before the trial. They should be able to have that choice. I agree. Bushit says, Chris, can you ask Steve why dogs were not brought in? That's a great question. I will have to ask him that. So yeah, we are literally 14 hours away approximately, depending on if they start at 9 or a little bit before. It's crazy that, I don't know. I think it's so stupid. Yeah, inside looking, I know. We could do a video on that for sure. Oh my goodness. Goodness me. University. Looks like footprint. Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly right. They said diamond similar to vans, not meaning that they were vans, but similar to vans, because vans are known for those. Prosecution. Anyway, a couple of things just before we go. If you are new to this channel, we did do the audio breakdown of the other footage, which I thought was kind of interesting. Oh, one other thing, actually, that someone commented that I did want to mention. It was kind of interesting. As you guys know, I tried to break this down as best I could, because this is what we usually do on this channel. Is we Windows 11 drives me nuts.
Matt.
Anyway, I took the Badfield camera footage from the officers, and basically from the audio sounds, I was able to determine that it's most likely the audio sounds of the cars that we hear are coming from Taylor Avenue. Putting that all together kind of gives us an idea of when cars are passing by, even though we can't see them from this angle. But what's interesting is it in this video? No, it's closer to 4. So I talked about, I thought I could hear the DoorDash driver. And one more thing I wanted to add on to this is someone mentioned, because we hear these little horn beeps. Right here. And one thing I wanted to mention, I think I've mentioned this before, but when hearing those beeps, I looked at all the footage all the cars that we can see in the video. None of these cars' lights go off. There's nothing here, which tells me it's something off camera, and it could be possible that it's coming from the west, and it's quite possible that could be the DoorDash driver. And I kind of made the theory that this could be him like locking the car, because my car, when I hit the lock, it beeps twice. I unlock, it beeps twice. Someone also mentioned that there are cars, with the start ignition, whatever. When you leave the car, I guess it also does that same thing, where it's 2 beeps. So that was mentioned in my thing as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if that's with the key fob, knowing you're kind of walking away from the car, and so it's automatically locking it. And then as you're getting closer to the car, it's unlocking it. But somebody mentioned that in my comments with me breaking this down a few weeks ago. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because I'm not a big, I don't know a lot about cars, but, and I've never had a car with the keyless entry and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to get a point of view from that. So it's quite possible that could be the case as well. So the house gets destroyed, BK walks. I don't think that, but I think if anything happens, there's always going to be like, why did they tear that down? And especially for the parents and the victim's family, they don't want anything to be, I can't imagine, the what ifs that they'll feel. So, anyways, I may do a small live tomorrow, depending on what's going on early. If there's something going on, and it's be interesting to see. If not, we may still go live after I get back from the doctors. If not, then I'll just probably do a Friday show, my regular scheduled day. But if there's something interesting going on tomorrow, because that's going to be in my time zone, so I'll know 9 to 5. So if there is something, we will go live early. Just also, I just want to say happy holidays to everybody. For anybody who may not see until the end of the year, happy New Year for any of those. We're gonna try to do one special members live this weekend before the end of the year. Show Friday, and then like I said, if there's something goes down tomorrow, we'll kind of go live just to pick up on it. So once again, special shout out to my wonderful mods. Like I said, I get back to you guys and start sending those things out to you. And thank you. Best luck to the doctor. Yeah, when you start getting less young, your body starts to fall apart. It sucks. So I'm sure I'll be fine. Anyway, I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. If I haven't said that already, let me make sure I didn't miss anything else. But if you haven't already, please hit that like button. And then thank you to anybody that donated. And let's see. Oh, I was looking at one more comment there. I have leg swelling. Yeah, it's my feet, and yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Like I said, I see the doctor tomorrow. I'm sure they'll figure it out. So, all right, guys. Thank you to all the members that support this channel. Another great way is to become a Patreon, which I'm going to get some stuff for my Patreons here before the end of the year. But once again, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays, guys. Much love, and if there's something that goes down, we'll see you guys tomorrow. And with that, we'll play the new outro.